It started with an apocalyptic vision.
Grace Road sees their leader, the Reverend Okju Shin, as the voice of truth who can reinterpret the Bible. And they have a prophecy that there is a nuclear cataclysm coming. So they moved to Fiji basically to await nuclear war and set up a farm that they said would feed the world after this happens.
The Grace Road Church landed in Fiji 10 years ago with around 400 members. Today, the group has an outsized influence. The church was welcomed by the former government, and with the help of state-backed loans, Grace Road morphed into a business conglomerate with interests in farming, construction, supermarkets, restaurants, petrol stations, and even dental clinics. But beneath the glittering success of its commercial ventures, its true motives are questionable.
같이 삽니다. 사실은 성경대로 하면 종으로 돼 있어도 그들은 이게 안 저거 하니까 안 돌아가니까 그러면서 어떻게 할까 하고 우리가 지배하고 다스리고 누리고 정복할 거야.
There are also allegations of exploitation and abuse. Founder Shin Okyeju was arrested in 2018 after returning to South Korea and later sentenced to prison on charges of violence and brainwashing. Videos emerged showing her beating followers and cutting off their hair. She called it knocking the devil out of them. Close ties with the former government shielded the group from scrutiny. But now, the Home Affairs Minister has moved to target and deport church leaders.
The removal is based on the request of Interpol and the government of South Korea for offences that they are alleged to have committed and are wanted for prosecution for in Korea.
The Korean government wants them back, and the new Fijian government wants to get rid of them, very much so.
But its leaders aren't going quietly.
Do I look like a runner?
The de facto head of the church, Daniel Kim, was taken into custody, but not before giving a defiant press conference demanding an apology from the minister.
He described us as a fugitive, as a criminal. I cannot accept that word.
Two other high-level members have been released after a High Court order.
We respect the order of the court. We are appealing against it, and that's where we are.
Meanwhile, Grace Road claims it is the victim of heavy-handed government repression.
This is an abuse of power and authority.
A staff campaign for Grace Road is gaining traction. Its supporters have handed a petition to the minister urging him to stop the deportations.
We are concerned about what may happen to the company, our job, our financial future.
The minister says it's out of his hands and that only those wanted in South Korea have anything to fear.
We value Grace Road, the company, and its contribution to the economy, to Fiji. That's the company. Yeah. This matter is not about the company. This matter is about people who are named. We're not trying to remove the Grace Road group. I want to reassure them. This is not about the Grace Road group.
Justice for Grace!
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, and Lethe is here with me because, Lethe, you've reported a lot on this group, and despite the controversy, they're not exactly unpopular in Fiji, are they?
That's right, Johnson. The Grace Road group is quite popular, given that they have interests in very many sectors. They're right in the grassroots. They, at the moment, employ quite a lot of people. They're saying 30,000. That number is, of course, unverified. They refer to their staff as family. And, some of the local staff that I've spoken to talked about having been trained, having been given support, and they turned out in numbers in support of their president, Johnson. So they're very, very popular. The customer service-based businesses that they run all across the country has kind of revolutionized the retail market in Fiji. So the Grace Road group, despite their origins and history, are quite popular in Fiji.
Now, Lethe, what would the deportation of the group's leaders mean for Grace Road? You know, the minister has made it clear that the government isn't after their business operations. Will Grace Road continue to function?
Well, as we understand it, and just before coming to have this conversation with you, I did run into Daniel Kim's wife, Grace Park, who does run a lot of their operations here in Fiji. As I understand it, Grace Road Group, as a business, will continue. They're functioning as normal. We've, of course, over the last several days, spoken to local staff in the group and who say that everything is running as normal. Although, however, given that he is the symbolic head of the group in Fiji, there is some anxiety and apprehension, mostly on the part of the people who work for the Grace Road Group.
And lastly, let's pivot a little bit because Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong is in Fiji. You're keeping a close eye on her visit. Are we expecting anything outside of the usual, visits to schools, villages, government meetings?
That's right. Senator Penny Wong is expected to be meeting with several Pacific Island countries. She's actually here for the Foreign Affairs Ministers meeting of the region, of the Pacific Islands Forum. And so while she's here, she's going to have bilateral meetings with several major Pacific Island countries with whom Australia has a close relationship. Right now, as we speak, she is talking to Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka, and I understand that very high on her agenda, but also the agenda of a lot of the Pacific Island countries who are coming to tomorrow's meeting is, of course, labor mobility scheme. The laborers, almost 40,000 Pacific Island people work in Australia, and Fiji, Tonga, and Vanuatu lead that community of Pacific Islanders there, Johnson.